Hello, my beautiful, beautiful brothers and sisters here in town. We are in Toronto and suburbs of Toronto physically, but not really because spiritually we are all interconnected, aren't we? So today I have the honor to be introducing to you one of my best friends, a human being that I have had the honor to be touched by. She's just a masterpiece. Let me just say that. She's not only a NLP master practitioner, she's also a successful, very successful real estate investor and educator uh, in Canada, but also in the US. She is also a licensed real estate agent and so much beyond. She also has a group that we're going to talk about so much as well. It's called Toronto Women's Club, and she does wonder in that group. It's my honor to have her on the show for Rich Immigrants Club, and she's one of my trusted people. So I wanted to introduce you guys to her significantly. And the purpose of today would be for me and for all of us to learn from this beautiful soul. And I have prepared a lot of questions, and since Cora and I have been in touch, we've been friends through professional real estate, professional investing organizations. Pretty much we know what's going on, and I know her. I think I don't really know her that deep, or do I? Let's figure that out. Okay. So with that, I want to give the mic back to Miss Cora Corstable.
Thank you very much, Bobby. It's an honor and a privilege to be interviewed by you to share something to your wonderful listeners, and especially to your newly formed Rich Immigrants Club. Congratulations. I'm very proud of what you are doing now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I want to be very systematic, meaning not meandering between a lot of different things. And at the end of the day, nobody figures what the heaven was going on. So I'm actually talking with you about the things that I had genuine questions of you, right? So with that, I have prepared 9 questions and beyond, and we see how long it's going to take. So first, So I love your beautiful smile, by the way, Cora. It's always energetic and peaceful.
Thank you.
Yeah. The very first question would be, Cora, based on your expertise, do you think, what do you see artificial intelligence and how it's impacting the real estate investing and real estate market in general? A lot of people are concerned about AI, job losses, and everything. What's your intake on different sectors of real estate investing and also the other real estate sections that it has potential implications of that? Would you mind talking about it?
I would say artificial intelligence is very much relevant, and it's one of the wonders that is discovered at the current times. In real estate investing, it enhances data analysis, risk assessment, and decision making. It's very important because for a real estate investor, our objective is to make money by investing in real estate. So gathering data, analyzing data, and knowing if we are going to make money is key and critical before we can ever make a decision, because it's, after all, real estate investing involves a great deal of money, and not many people would probably invest in real estate because of the amount involved in that activity, right? AI algorithms can analyze vast amounts of data to identify trends. It can predict property values and even assess investment risk more accurately. without AI, imagine how much time we will use in order to gather all the data and make analysis, and we can make a mistake. But the AI-driven tools, it streamlines property management. It can also automate routine tasks and improve overall operational efficiency for real estate investors. So that is really big and really wonderful for a real estate investor to have AI on their side.
So in another word, Cora, you feel like AI is actually gonna help real estate investing. It's not something that people should be afraid about in real
No,
estate.
absolutely, it helps. So don't be afraid of AI. It's a tool that you can use.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Okay, beautifully. Thank you so much. So you probably have heard of like apps in the United States, especially that does the very much the job of the real estate agents. One of them noted it's been years that they use it in the States. It's called Properly. So what do you think the markets, especially in Ontario and Canada, would you see like, for example, if somebody wants to be a real estate agent, these sort of things would be actually, I mean, they could potentially lose a lot of market share to apps coming out for people to buy, so that these people that are getting a lot of commissions will not get that.
Yes, I'm not very familiar with Properly, but I did a little bit of research when you sent me the question. And from what I can see, Properly, just like any other platform or system that it was just recently introduced, can also streamline tech approach and is also using AI. Now the more important question is Properly going to replace a real estate agent? Is that the question?
That's exactly what it is.
Is it going to disrupt the traditional real estate roles? I would say it is yes and no. Yes, it can take some of the tech-driven roles of a real estate agent. For example, making sold comparables or making rent comparables and gathering all data. It can Properly can very well provide that, or even any other platform. But I would say there are still real estate agent roles that cannot be taken by AI. For example, negotiation. Negotiation cannot be taken by AI. Or problem solving. In a real estate transaction, anything can happen. Example, a mortgage that is not approved on time, delays in closing, tenants not vacating the properties, and so on and so forth. So these are very, very important activities of real estate agents, the roles that is hard to be replaced by AI. I don't know in the future if it can ever be replaced. Who knows? The world is changing very fast. But at the current what I see in all those kinds of platforms is still there are things that can be done by those platforms, and there are things we still need a reliable real estate agent.
Okay, fantastic. I liked your answers more than I expected.
You.
Amazing. So third question for you would be, so for the current market and beyond, what's your, and you are, remember, my audience and your audience also, Cora is not a simple real estate agent. She's not. She's not even an average real estate agent. She's a real estate investor herself. She knows beyond. And what I'm answering, and I'm not a licensed real estate agent either. So everything in here we talking about real estate is about real estate investing, rather. So in another word, we are not saying every time is buying time, because it's not. We are not concerned about commissions to just sell. So what I'm asking you as a professional advice with regards to eyes of a real estate investor. Okay, so what's your current most favorite real estate investing strategies are?
Thank you for asking that. My number one strategy now is to buy in pre-construction. And why? Why do I want to buy in pre-construction? Right now, because of the market. Remember, it's always making a decision on what is the best strategy depends on what is the current situation in the market.
Of
And what is
course.
the current situation in the market? The interest rate is high.
Mhm.
So when the interest rate is high, affordability becomes a problem, right? Not many people can qualify. Now, in pre-construction, you are not yet closing the property. Pre-construction meaning you buy before it starts construction. And how many years will it take before a house or a condo or a townhouse or whatever you plan to buy is going to be completed? It can take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, depending on the project. Therefore, you are not affected by the real estate, by the interest rate. Second, with the current market condition, the builders are giving a lot of incentives and bonuses. Example, lower deposit as low as 5% or 10% or extended over 24 months. I have seen builders giving extending the deposit payment over 12 months or 24 months. So monthly you are paying only very small amount depending on the purchase price, right? Also, there are many other benefits like they give you 10,000 back, 5,000 back, or extra decor dollars, and all those kinds of bonuses. So this is the best time to take advantage of those deals from the builders. The builders need to unload their inventory. They are already committed to complete the project because this was approved years ago before the increase in the interest rate. So they need to unload it and they need to give those incentives to the buyers, right? So that is one of my strategy. The second strategy, if you have the ability to buy, hold, and rent, meaning resale, you buy in resale because not many people can afford to buy property. So now there are many renters. Alongside of that strategy, Canada has increased its number of immigrants to 1 million people over 3 years. That's over 300,000 immigrants who are going to look for a place to live. Let's say 60% of that, according to statistics, 60% of the immigrants go to Ontario and the 40% are spread over all other provinces. So majority of the immigrants will flock in Ontario and will look for a house to rent, not yet to buy. Not many people can afford to buy. So one of the things that happened in the recent year is the increase in the demand on rentals and the increase on the rent. So this is a good opportunity for investors to consider.
Yes, absolutely. You can say that again for sure. Okay, and we're gonna come back to immigration and the following questions as well. I'm actually very curious to take your insights on that. But fifth question I have, and I know you had been investing in the US. If you could tell us why and you're not right now, right? Correct?
Yes.
And the question would be, why did you and why are you not? And would you think this is applicable to everyone? If you can briefly talk about it, that would be amazing.
Yes, okay. I am a Canadian citizen who invested in the United States. And because I am not a resident of the United States, I bought real estate there in cash. Now, during that time, because I did that, I think 8 years ago, somewhat 8 years ago, not all, depending on the state where you buy, but let's say you buy in Florida, you have to find out because every state in the United States operate differently. They have different
course.
tax rates and different laws, right? Just like in Canada,
Different
we have
jurisdictions.
different
Yeah.
provinces. So you must know the laws and regulations in that particular state where you are buying, right? And at the time, there was no mortgage available, so I have to put up my cash to buy properties there. Now, one of the problems that I experience is property management. Remember, you are not there, you are not physically living there, so you must have reliable property manager to look after that. And we had some issues with the property manager who even ran away with our rents. Yes, he collected the rent and ran away with the rent. And we
Yes.
ended up without a property manager. And when we had the property inspected, it was really in a very shabby condition. Because
Mhm.
of that, I decided to just sell and got the money and invest in Canada rather than in the United States. So this is the thing when you consider to invest outside of your geographical location, you must have a good team in the form of a reliable property manager who is honest and can be relied upon if there's any.
Yes.
So
And
that's what
we're gonna
happened.
yes, and we're gonna delve deeper into it in the following conversations. Obviously, you know so much about it, but for the time being, let's move on to the topic that you already talked about, which is people obviously have mixed feelings about immigration, and my club is actually a club for immigrants, rich immigrants club.
Yes.
I am an immigrant myself,
Mhm.
right? So are you.
Yes, we are
But
both
her,
immigrant.
right? So, but the question is, should we allow everybody to come to Canada? You know, that's a lot of people raise that question. I don't want to be political in here, but the question is more on the technical side and the effects on real estate investing and the ventures we are doing here and our life obviously as well. Um, So, and at the same time, a lot of Canadians are, to be honest, are mad at these current movements and are actually going out of the country. And traditionally, we have had that, meaning that outflux in Canada has been a lot. Still, we have that problem. There's a brain drain in Canada to the US, especially, um, and for various reasons. So my question though is that what's your intake of effects of recent immigration policies on the real estate market?
Recent immigration policy, are you talking about increasing the number of immigrants?
Exactly.
One of the reasons, what I know, why the government of Canada increased is because more than 54% are baby boomers. Lots of the population of Canada is aging. They have to replace that
Of course.
with more immigrants.
Right.
Now, I know you and I know that the government also, while the government is increasing the number of immigrants, they also have some criteria in who to accept in the country.
Right.
Number one, what are the occupations of these people, or what kind of people do they need to come into Canada?
Right.
Because when I came to Canada 22 years ago, I am an immigrant 22 years ago, there are specific jobs that are priority and not priority. So if you are a priority, like I know a priority, too many accountants, they don't like anymore too many accountants.
Yes.
Or they like more in the technical IT jobs, they
Yes.
need that. So I would say I am for increasing the number of immigrants.
Right.
Canada has increased the population already. When I came to Canada 22 years ago, we were only 33 million, around 33 million. Now it's about 38 million or close to 40 million. So over 22 years, it has increased, dramatically increased. But still, they study the births against deaths. And because there are more baby boomers, and I am a baby boomer myself, I will be replaced by maybe one of my children or somebody. We will be replaced as we age older. So the country has to prepare for that. Long term and short term. And one of them is increasing the number of immigrants, the qualifications of these immigrants, as they see that can help improve the economy and replace the aging population. So that's just my insight.
Okay, so that's the gist of it. Cora agrees with the immigrations, and she thinks it's good for real estate investing. Okay, moving on to the next one. Obviously, you mentioned that, and it's no secret sauce that real estate investing needs a lot of money for the most strategies. Obviously, there's some other strategies that you can do that requires skills rather than capital, and the question, and not everybody knows about it. People think that you need to put down a lot of money. Usually, even 5% is a lot of money. There's some other alternatives you can do, like $200 per month or something like that. But the question would be, if somebody doesn't have too much money and he or she wants to make a lot of money in real estate or any other business, what comes to your mind to do to actually make money?
There is one suggestion I can make, and I did this. Buy a property. If a new immigrant is required to, let's say, put up 5%, and even 5% of $500,000, that's $25,000. It's still a big amount of money.
Yes.
But you can do something like, there are many ways you can buy. Number one, you can co-buy with other members of the family. I know some communities or some families co-buy with another. Co-buy with a sister, with a brother. So what I mean, let's say a house with units, one can live in one unit and the other one. So you co-buy, right?
Yes.
Until such time that they have gotten a job, they have saved some money, and then the other person can buy out the other. In the meantime, two families, even three families can be a co-owner or joint, what do you call it? That's a term.
Joint ventureship.
They are joint venture, right? And all of them are going to be on title.
Yes, absolutely.
So everybody is protected because all of them are on title.
Yes, absolutely.
That's one. Number two is they can borrow money. I know some people even borrow money from relatives until such time that they are able to save money.
Yes.
So borrowing money. What else I can say? Number three is you live in one unit and rent out the other unit. You can make it legal by getting it licensed from the city. And
of course,
I also did that, where I live on the second floor, on the main floor and the second floor, and I have a separate entrance on the basement, and I have a tenant there on the basement that paid for the mortgage, property taxes, and other utilities. So those are things you can do.
Absolutely, and there's so much more. You and I know that there's plethora of ways, not only in real estate strategies, but also so you don't require too much as a lot of people think. There's so many other things, like assignment, for example, is one of them. Bird dogging is another one. Knowing how to find deals is another one. But also, apart from real estate, you can do online businesses, and I know you did that. And so much beyond. And we're going to delve deeper with Cora and other people we are bringing to our channel, Rich Immigrants Club, to give you much more value on what's actually possible. So you are unique in a sense that you know about NLP as a real estate investor, and
Yes.
you don't even know about it. You are a master practitioner in it. So tell me, what's the thoughts behind that? What's how in specific? How does NLP help people get more money?
Yeah, thank you for asking. It's very NLP next to real estate is very close to my heart because NLP or neuro-linguistic programming, as you can take from the name, neuro is about the brain, neurology. Linguistic is the use of language, and programming is how we program things, right? And there are three main reasons why how NLP can make you money as a real estate investor. Number one, NLP teaches you how to have effective communication. Communication is key. Imagine between an agent and a buyer or a seller, or between two people who are in a negotiation, because being a real estate investor requires negotiation, right? A lot of negotiation. Effective communication is one, and it can help you understand and utilize language patterns that resonate with clients, whether verbal or non-verbal. And it improves your ability to convey information persuasively. So with communication, something can be it can spell the difference between somebody agreeing with you or not. So so that's how important it is. Number two is building rapport. We cannot just be very like okay, you either buy or you sell. You cannot just do that. We need to establish rapport in order to build trust and confidence.
Of course.
Because this the business of real estate is also people's business. I look at it as a people's business.
Yes.
And when it comes to making the biggest decision of your life, even buying your first home or buying your first investment property, it requires trust and confidence with the person you are dealing with. So establishing rapport is very important, and in NLP we learn how to do that.
Got it. So
And the last one, which I already mentioned before, is negotiation skills.
okay.
We learn a lot of techniques in how to negotiate the best for our clients or the best for ourselves, whether we are buying or selling in real estate. So those are the
Okay, amazing. So to paraphrase of what Cora just mentioned too in terms of NLP and both, as she's saying, in real estate and otherwise, we need to read people, we need to have a rapport with them, and we need to negotiate with them. And in summary, we need to influence. And I can't be agreeing more. And she's found NLP to be a weapon, a vehicle to actually equip herself and others to empower themselves with, right? So the very last question is on Toronto Women's Club. What's going on with you guys? What's the plan? What's your vision? What's you gonna do? Tell me about those as well.
Well, as you know, Toronto Women's Club was established for the main objective of inspiring and empowering women. And right now, especially after coming out of the lockdown, more and more people are looking for help with regards to financial and making changes in their lives. And real estate investing could be one that I have been advocating people to do, especially for women, because women are less convinced that real estate is for them, right? There are more men when it comes to real estate investing. Anyway, the Toronto Women's Club will continue to teach women and including men for transformation and how we go about how we navigate in the new world. And the latest that I have that I am focusing on is called the Seed of Life. And the Seed of Life deals with the 7 pillars of life. And the 7 pillars are personal life, career, work and career, health and fitness, relationships, what is this? Contribution and legacy, fun and recreation, and money and finance. These are the
Absolutely.
7 pillars of life. And I have a sacred geometry, which I call the seed of life, which I learned from NLP. And also, I also want to incorporate in the program that I am writing now, that I am developing, how you can take care of your 4 bodies. And the 4 bodies are our physical body, our mind, our heart, and our soul. In the Science of Getting Rich that I wrote, I also talk about those 4 bodies because we cannot take care of one body and forget the others. We have to take care of the 4 bodies equally. And as you can see, soul is also part of the 4 bodies. That's our soul. And heart is also part of the body. So you will notice it's not only about our body, the physical body, but we have to take care of also of our mind, because we need to continue learning and take care of how we develop our mind, our mindset, and the soul and the heart. So it has to be balanced. So that is what Toronto Women's Club is focusing now.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Also, I missed one of the questions, and I'm going to ask that because probably this is the most, so for us, is the most important mission, which is real financial education. Real financial education. And I know that's dear to your heart as well. And we both know that a lot of people suffer from lack of it. Specifically, what do you think the components of real financial educations are? What comes to your mind?
Yes, financial education, as I mentioned in my 7 pillars, money and finance is one pillar. Therefore, financial education is very critical for our success and happiness. And why? Here are the components of financial education from my point of view. And one of them is understanding money. What is our relationship with money? Do we believe that money is the root of all evil? Or do we believe that money is a tool of exchange and that we need money in order to be successful and happy?
Yes.
There are 3 principal resources in life. And these are time, money, and energy. These are the 3 most important resources. If you have only energy and time without money, how can you invest in yourself, and how can you learn and grow, and how can you become happy and successful? So if you look at money as a tool in order to grow and be successful, then that's what's going to happen to you. But if you look at money as the root of all evil, and that all rich people are evil, remember, the name of your club is Rich Immigrants Club. I want all the immigrants to really become rich, and it all depends on how you look at it. So number 1 is understanding the concept of money and your relationship with money. Second is budgeting. Budgeting is important because if you do not budget, you will find yourself in debt or having more expenses than income. So budgeting is important. I also happen to be a certified accountant, so I know the importance of budgeting. And number 3 is savings. Are you allocating a certain percentage of your income to savings? They say it is not what you make, but it's what you keep. And the 4th one is investing. The reason why we are investing is we want to have money for the rainy day. You know, you always set aside money for the rainy day, and you also set aside money to invest. If you will just be an employee all your life, then there is no growth, and there is no potential for you to make more money. So we need to invest. I would say you invest, and that is how you can become rich, is to invest.
Yes.
Whether you invest
Yes.
in real estate or you invest in stocks and bonds or you invest in Bitcoin, it's really up to you to invest to find the best avenue or the best mode of investing. The
Yes.
next one is debt management. It is okay to have debts because there are two kinds of debt, the good debts or the bad debts. And debt management is important. And lastly, is learning about parts of financial education such as taxation, insurance, and other subjects that can help you have an excellent financial education.
Yes, amazing. I feel like you paraphrased everything very beautifully, and that was a phenomenal session. Thank you so much for the gift of your time, your attention, and the insights you brought us to our audience and to myself. I'm honored, and I thank you dearly from the deep of my soul. Thank you so much, my beautiful friends. And oh, okay. So for now, we're gonna end up this session. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope we're gonna see you become very, very rich. And the mission is to do that through education and inspiring and showing people like Cora that this is possible. This is not just for like white rich people. This is also for us as immigrants to have a beautiful, beautiful life. Okay, and that's the vision that Cora and I share heartily and beautifully, right? So Cora, any other word to close the session?
Thank you very much. And to close the session, thank you very much for this opportunity. I really enjoyed the session with you. And I wish the Rich Immigrants Club will attain its objectives and helping more immigrants to this beautiful country. And I am also here to support you. So, and also I would like to share one quotation from The Science of Getting Rich written by Wallace D. Wattles, which I have rewritten, and it goes this way. You can render God and humanity no greater service than to make the most of yourself. So make the most of yourself and everything else will follow. So that's how I would like to end this interview. Thank you.
I had goosebumps, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.